Mr. Abhay Phansikar has done his master's in engineering in electricals from 1983. He has worked for different organizations like Tata Power in R&D department, Onward Technologies, Tech Mahindra, Wave Technologies. Mr. Phansikar has over 35 years of experience in the field of product development, embedded solutions, technical marketing, and turnkey offerings. Some of the systems he developed include mission-critical military-grade systems, air traffic controller stimulator, radar tracking systems, and healthcare ERP and portals. He has performed variety of roles which include director, president, COO, chief technical architect in Indian as well as international organizations. A well-networked person in the industry, his interests are in providing strategic directions to startups and growing organizations, IEEE, and also past chairman of IEEE Bombay section, and is also a mentor on Startup Boot Camp, one of the top 3 global accelerators for top startups. He is also associated with education as an external faculty to engineering colleges and is on industry advisory board and board of studies of engineering colleges, project examiner, and directs lectures for skill and knowledge development as well as faculty development. Today, he is going to speak on the fundamentals of ethics. Abhay sir, it's over to you.
It's a pleasure talking to the team from industry. I also from the same background. I have spent almost 30 plus years in developing embedded solutions, typically for automation of processes in the engineering industry, and I continue to be associated on that front. And most of the time I actually get a call to give a lecture on embedded solutions development or large turnkey project development considerations. It's a rare thing that I'm actually going to speak on ethics today, but I'll be happy to share what I think about ethics and the fundamentals as to why we should be looking at ethics the way they help us go ahead in life. So my talk will cover some examples, and I'll try to set up some considerations or perceptions of ethics, and then talk a bit about what ethics, morals, or value mean, and how ethics affect us in relationships, and then come up with a suggestion of code of conduct which I follow and I sign up to every year. So from a corporate perspective, what should be the code of conduct we should adhere to? So to start with, I'll try to go ahead with some examples. I'll be happy if this is interactive. It's the first time I'm doing something online on this topic. So if there are any questions or if you wish to answer something, I'll be happy to receive that. So the first example I want to take is a daycare center, a typical daycare center which had a problem. There were more than 30 families who would keep their children at the daycare, and the timings were supposed to be from 8 a.m. to 6:45 p.m. with a small grace period of another 10-15 minutes. So between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m., it was expected that all the children will be taken home by the parents. However, it was being observed that almost 25% of the children were picked up post 7 p.m. So somewhere between 7 and 8 p.m., the parents used to rush to take the kid or kids. And being a daycare center, being 30 families they support, there were like a lot of children, and there were external staff in that daycare center, and everyone had a challenge in terms of staying late. So they came up with a late fee mechanism that if the child is picked up after 7 p.m., they would charge a late fee of 500 rupees. And if the child is picked up after 7:30 p.m., they would charge a late fee of 1,000 rupees. The management of the daycare thought that this is a nice deterrent, and that way they would be ensured that all the children are picked up before 7 p.m. Does anyone have an idea of what really happened when this late fee mechanism came in? Is anyone willing to take a guess whether the children were picked up before 7, after 7, or till 8 p.m.?
It appears that everybody was picked up before 7 p.m. and it's not the late fee which was coming to the school, but some people must have been getting the overtime paid. The people there.
Yeah.
So must be making money on the slide.
Really, what happened was the number of children that got picked up after 7 p.m. increased. Okay. Earlier, people used to come rushing and take their kid before 7. But when the late fee started happening, there were quite a few parents who were willing to pay that 500 rupees, but come around 7:30. And there were even more who would take the child at around 8 p.m. or could delay by another 5-10 minutes. So basically, putting this late fee actually increased the problem of the daycare. While they were getting some money, but now the parents were not feeling guilty that their child is being picked up late. They thought it is a right that they can come at 7:30, pay 500 rupees and take the kid. So that way the parents were kind of enjoying more time outside. They would do probably their own work or sit a bit late at office, or the husband wife, they would take it slightly relaxed. And many of them were happy to pay 1,000 rupees. It did not really solve the problem of the daycare. So fundamentally, what happened or what was seen is that the feeling of guilt which was there when the parent would come at 7:05 and sheepishly say, sorry, I'm really sorry, and then I'll not do this again, and take the child. That feeling of guilt that they are coming late vanished. And they said it's like a commercial deal. Happy, I'm willing to pay another 500 and let the kid be there. So it kind of started giving them a feeling that okay, now the daycare is from morning 8 to evening 8, and you have to pay slightly more money. So basically, one of the fundamental things about ethics you have to understand is, if someone feels a guilt, then there are chances of that person likely to be more ethical. I'll go to another example which I was involved with in my last association with a startup. So we were doing the gift card business. What it meant is we would go to the corporate, and the corporate we would tie up with them saying that you probably want to give gifts during Diwali or festival or New Year or some kind of special awards. So we'll give you gift cards of various companies. I'm just taking names as an example. So like Amazon or Flipkart or Westside, we will supply you with gift cards. The idea was that they get the gift card at a discount. So we would give them a discount of about 2 to 3% on the gift cards. And it was a decent business we were doing. Some of the companies would buy 50 lakhs worth of gift cards during Diwali. And so a single company would buy that kind of a volume. They were happy to get a discount of 2%. And they were also happy that we would give them some credit period. So the HR over there used to take pride, saying that they are also turning that cost center into slightly of a profit center by getting credit and by getting another 2% off on the purchase of gift cards. The business model that we had was we would go to these retailers of gift cards, and we'll say that we'll give you a business of say 1 CR, 1.5 CR in a year, and you give us 2 to 2.5% back. So it was basically a 0.5% kind of revenue earning business. And even if you do a total volume of 10 to 12 crores, you would hardly earn any money in the company. But that was not the real fundamental baseline of the business. What we did was we tied up with all these retailers, and we used to tell them every month I'll give you 5 lakhs and you give me an inventory code of 50 lakhs. I'll consume 5 lakhs worth of code every month. So they would just give us a 16-digit number, which we would print on the gift card. We will customize the gift card on the company's name and give. So this 16-digit number, we tied up with those companies is whenever they get redeemed, we would pay the company back. And we would give an advance of 5 lakhs. So the companies were happy that as soon as a gift card gets redeemed, they would reduce our balance from the 5 lakhs. And then when it came down to 1 lakh, we would again top it up. So that way, it seemed very well. What really was the fundamental of our business is we knew that almost 8 to 10% of the gift cards never got encashed. So at the end of the year, if we were supplying 10 CR worth of gift cards, there was a good 60-70 lakhs worth of money with us. I mean, the gift cards have been distributed by the company to their employees. They may have given it to their children. They may have given it to the friends. And then somewhere, someone forgot. and the validity of the gift cards used to be 6 months. At the end of 6 months, if they are not redeemed, after few months, like a couple of months, we would wait extra, and then we realized that the gift card is not going to get redeemed or it is expired, and then the money used to come in our kitty. So that way, basically, we were earning a whole lot of money. But somewhere the board sat together and they discussed whether this is what we want to do as a business. I mean, someone who's putting his hard-earned money into the system and buying a gift card from us, and just because they forgot, we pocket that money. I mean, should we be more kind of proactive and try to send them reminders, try to push them to encash that gift card? If they did that, then what would happen is, instead of we making 50 lakhs in a year, we would end up making 3-4 lakhs in a year, and the business was really untenable. And slowly the management decided that we really don't want to keep someone else's, I mean, basically pocket someone else's money. And slowly the business was wound down by the team. They have a good tech stack. They were able to work with the retailers in doing some other development, and it's doing a different service business now. But fundamentally, the fact that they were pocketing someone else's money, they felt was ethically wrong. So this is another perception of ethic. They were not doing anything which was illegal. They were doing everything that was in line. The retailers were happy. The companies were happy. Everyone was happy. And somewhere the person who got a gift card, he would simply feel sad one day that, oh, I forgot I had this gift card and I forgot to encash it. But that feeling of sadness resulting into company's revenue was something which the company decided to do away with. So guilt or conscience, or I'll take a third example of the team that I was working with. So I used to go to London. I mean, one of the companies, we had a project going on in London, and the company used to give the team a railway pass for London and Greater London, which allowed them to enter into a London station at any time and exit within zone 1 to 6. What happened was one of the team had an assignment where the client's site was outside of London, about half an hour away. So which was about one big station away from zone 6. And they had to buy a ticket, extra ticket, every time they went to Slav and came back. And company used to reimburse that. So what the company used to do is, okay, if you've done say 10 trips to Slav in a month, so return is 20 trips, 1.5 pounds, so they would get 30 pounds. The team found one loophole that if you exit Slav station in the morning, so typically, I mean, the setup is like this. You have a barrier when you enter London station, so you have this pass, so you can enter the station. You could exit any station at zone 6, and when you touch the pass at the barrier again, the gate would open and you go out. But if you went to Slav and you just had this pass, then the gate would not open. Then what you have to do is, there's a person standing over there at the window. You have to pay the fare difference. And generally a fine is associated with that. But a couple of times you could get away saying, see, I caught a fast train and I didn't realize that it was not stopping at zone 6 station. So kindly give me a return ticket and don't put any fine. And then they would escape. But they realized one thing, that early morning and late evenings, because of manpower shortage, there would be no one at Slav to collect the fine. And there was one barrier which used to be open during that period. So you could walk out of that barrier. These boys, they were smart. They adjusted their timings to meet that particular barrier open slot. And they would come in and go out and earn anywhere up to 50 pounds in a month as pocket money. I was heading the team at some point of time, and I used to go there every 45 days. And I realized that the children are doing this. Initially, you could let them go. It's a thrill, it's some fun element. But when I realized that they have been doing it regularly, I said, this is not correct. This is not good. And then they would argue, no. These British, they looted our country. And what happens if we kind of not buy the ticket? Anyway, the barrier is open. It is their problem, and all those things. So basically, these boys were earning some money by the side, and I used to tell them it's not good. A couple of months passed, and these boys had pocketed some decent amount of sum. What happened was they would, at the end of the month, pull in that money and have a party, buy some expensive single malts in London and have fun. 1, 2, 3 months, it used to happen on a kind of regular basis. Some days they would sneak out and collect this money. What we found was the money that they were kind of earning out of this was not going into any good cause. It basically was ended up having they do some kind of a vice. Basically, party hard, buy liquor, and spend the money on that most of the time. And I started telling them that slowly you're going to get into this habit. Suppose the barrier is not left open for the next month, you will start feeling a cringe that your side income is stopped, and then you may still want to do the party, but you may not want to buy that expensive liquor, and then you may go for some cheaper liquor, or in any case you may get addicted to having these kind of parties more often on the weekends because you are having this money, and kind of force them to stop. Initially they were a bit reluctant. They would also kind of earn a bit of a money by not leaving the requisite money while picking up the newspaper on the street and those things, or use a 5 rupee coin which was exactly equivalent to a pound coin at that time, and wherever you have to put a pound coin you would put a 5 rupee coin and make some money. So all this had to be stopped. Why? Because the money that you earn by the side, it doesn't many a times get into any kind of productive habit. You're not donating it for a good cause. You yourself are not using it for a good cause to train yourself or to upgrade yourself, but you're basically trying to use it for a vice. So like guilt or conscience or this kind of a greed thrill, one has to avoid in their corporate life. And that's where I'm trying to set up some fundamentals of what an ethical behavior is. I mean, it should come within yourself. If you look at the doctors today, all the doctor, when they pass out, they have to go through what's called as Hippocrates oath, where they sign up to saying that they will do ethical business and they will be true to their business. Now, someone who's an educated person who has done so much of study and has got maturity to become a professional doctor, why is that person required to take an oath? Because fundamentally, somewhere, if we are not reminded of what is ethics, there's a good chance that we may slip by and not be ethical. So now I'll come to these terms that we are talking about. What is ethics? Ethics is simply a standard of right or wrong behavior in a given circumstance. So behavior is right or wrong within a set of environment. It's not like something carved on a stone that this is it and this is ethic and this is not. Based on the situation, based on the environment, the kind of people that you are involved with, you set a standards amongst yourself and you define those standards as something, a behavior is a correct behavior and an incorrect behavior. Morals is to do with right or wrong conduct. Again, you set up certain, I would not say rules, but certain fundamentals as this thing is a morally correct way to go about and this is not a morally correct way to go about. The third thing you should realize is value. Value is something which has an intrinsic worth. It could be a principle, it could be a standard, or it could be a quality that is worthwhile. I mean, in value, I used to work for Tata Advanced Systems in my initial days, and people who are on the field, when they came to the office, when they went into James' cabin, they would remove the shoes outside. It was because of two things: the consideration of value, that they are going into someone who's like a god to them, and they would not walk into a temple where they're wearing shoes kind of thing. It was one perspective which people had. The other perspective also which people had is the carpeting in those offices, in those air-conditioned offices used to be very good. And they did not want to damage the carpet because of the muck they got from the shoe from percolated amongst all the employees. It was not a rule that was set by the organization. It was a consideration by everyone they had for their company. So they would switch off the taps, they would switch off the lights when not needed. If something is not found to be correct, they themselves would go and correct it, rather than saying that this is not my job. It is admin's job and they should come and do it. Now, why am I even trying to think about it? So if you look at morals, ethics and values, and the thing of right and wrong behavior. Right behavior is you coming on time every day. A wrong behavior could be that you are getting delayed on a regular basis, but you get delayed by 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And then the company has a policy of cutting half day if you come late by 15 minutes every day. So fundamentally, what is right? Right is coming on time, but is coming 15 minutes late thrice in a month a really wrong behavior? And should I be penalized for that? I mean, that's a consideration which an organization has to give, because that man, the person who's coming in slightly late, is willing to put in extra half an hour to compensate for that. And as long as those kind of things get adjusted, or as long as we understand what is bad, bad is one quantum and evil is another quantum. If something that is kind of slightly not good, is it an acceptable behavior? Or what is a virtue and what is a vice? Kind of doing something on a regular basis, which is incorrect, can be termed as vice, but all of you getting together one day and letting your hair down, it could be considered as a virtue. It could be a good escape for the team, and it would bring them back and give them more energy. So those kind of things one has to really consider in an ethical scenario. And one also has to be very just in punishing versus suggesting a corrective action. So we realized when we were kind of setting up certain time slots for people to come in and work, we were able to do a nice split of timings based on everyone's convenience. I mean, people who would come from far were happy to start early and leave by 4 p.m. rather than get into the rush hour traffic. There were others who would live close by and who had a different lifestyle. They would want to jog in the morning and come in by 9:30, and then were okay to stay late till 6:30. So those kind of things we would do. And if there were offenders to the whole system, we would look at doing some kind of an corrective behavior or helping them overcome that particular problem, rather than getting into a punishment mode. So all of this boils down to an ethical behavior. So I would like to summarize by saying that at the core, ethics is about relationships that we have with the system that we live in. Decision making about ethical dilemmas is difficult. I mean, what is really ethical and non-ethical? It is not only difficult, and it is complex because it has an impact and is affected by the relationships we have with others. I mean, you may pardon some employee who's a habitual offender because probably he is doing some high quality work when he's around, versus a person who's kind of just meeting the standards required by the company and is following all the rules. So are you trying to bend rules for someone? Are you trying to take an so-called unethical stand? It's a slightly difficult decision for all of us. But what we have to understand is ethics is fundamentally affected by the relationships that we have with others, and our quality of life gets shaped continuously by the ethical behavior of everyone that is around us, everyone with whom we live, with whom we work, and with whom we move around. So more and more ethical people are around you, more and more quality of life will improve. And that is the fundamental thing we should look at. Try to be around with people who value morals, who value relationships, who respect commitments, and are willing to take a level of punishment for something that they have done wrong. If you are kind of surrounded by these people, we will have a far better quality of life. And ethical decision making is inherent in improving the lives of individuals. So you cannot really take a decision in isolation, or you should not, as much as possible. And while taking a decision, you should also consider the individual, the families, the workplace, and the community that you work with. One more aspect of ethical decision making is it requires that we value and respect diversity. Not everyone is of the same standard, of the same kind of strength, and they may have certain lacunas in them, they may have certain problems, or they may have come from a background which is different, or they may have completely diverse opinion on certain aspects, whether it is political, or whether it is a way to do work, whether it is a way to compensate some excellent work. So diversity is fundamental in our relationships, and we should be able to value and respect diversity and embrace diverse opinions. So if we are able to frame ourselves in these kind of conditions, we could come up with a good professional, ethical person. The perspective of professional ethics is defined by what action best reflects the code and mission of my profession. So every time you do an action, you try to come and think whether you're true to your profession and whether you are following the code that your profession is required to follow. So given this background, I mean, I've just tried to lay certain fundamentals of ethics. So here I'm not trying to suggest to anyone how you should behave or what is right or what is wrong. Finally, it is something that we will have to realize ourselves and then define those parameters ourselves with our colleagues and come up with something that we say that all of us are doing an ethical behavior. And to this, I'm going to share a code of conduct, the IEEE code of conduct that I follow. I think it will be nicely applied to the business that we are in. We are an embedded engineering solutions company. And for me, as a corporate code of conduct, as an ethical practice, I would want to say that I want to hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of everyone who uses my system. At the same time, I would want to design my systems with ethical designs and sustainable development practice, and not something that will endanger either me or the people who are going to use it. So point number 2 is to improve the understanding by individuals and society of the capabilities of the implications of conventional and emerging technologies, including intelligent technologies. Third, to avoid real or perceived conflicts of interest wherever possible, and to disclose them to affected parties when they do exist. So if you are getting into a conflict of interest situation, you should always try to tell to the people. I mean, if you are employing a person whom you know, you should rather tell the management, okay, I know this person and that's the reason why I want to hire him, and not create a fake interview scenario where you call 4 other people, waste their time, and then try to select this person. Fourth is to avoid unlawful conduct in professional activity and to reject bribery in all forms. As long as we try to be within the law and not try to undercut the systems, we would end up being successful in the longer run. One more good and ethical practice for us is to seek and accept and offer honest criticism of technical work, and to acknowledge and correct errors. I mean, if we have made some mistake, we should be correcting them. To be honest and realistic in stating claims. And if you have done the job, you claim it yourself. If it's your junior who has done it, give due credit to the person. And maintain and improve technical standards, to treat all persons fairly with respect and not to engage in harassment or discrimination, or to get into certain acts which will injure someone, either physically or mentally. And treating all persons with respect, and not to discriminate based on characteristics of the race, religion, gender, disability, and not to engage into harassment of any kind or bullying, or not to engage into activities which are likely to injure others. So as a corporate, if we are following certain principles that I have suggested, I feel will be a good society to work with. And one more thing we also have to do is to ensure that the code that we all of us have agreed to is also upheld by the colleagues and co-workers, and to support those colleagues and co-workers in ensuring that the code of ethics is followed. And if someone else is getting harassed by someone and you are a silent spectator, you should be able to intervene, or you should be able to create a channel to reach out to maybe some senior management and bring this particular aspect out, that there is an unethical practice happening in the system, and let us try to correct it. We would end up being a far better organization. That's all I wanted to put it in a perspective, just giving a fundamentals of ethics. So I'm not kind of trying to preach that you should do it this way or you should do it that way, but leaving a thought with everyone on what you should consider yourself going forward in being ethical.